Hello, it is Lorna here, and welcome along to Plan Your Play. Plan Your Play is our 5-day challenge. We are going to be talking lots and lots about sensory development, lots about kind of activities that we can do with our little ones to help support their sensory development. But I'm not going to do all the work. We're going to do some play activities together as well, and I'm going to get you to kind of answer some questions for me as well as we go around. This is a bit of a challenge, so we're going to kind of all participate in it together. So we're delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for being on board. So in the next 5 days, you're going to be kind of shared a little bit of information, maybe some play activities to go alongside them. And today's one is all about kind of a bit of an introduction to sensory development, just so we are all on the same page about our baby's sensory systems. Now, our babies have we all have 8 sensory systems. We've got the 5 senses that we all know about, and we've also got 3 body senses as well. And I'm going to share a diagram with you just now. If you have been on my Plan Your Play workshop, not my Plan Your Play, How to Play with Your Baby workshop, you will have seen this diagram before. It is the diagram with all the puzzle pieces that bring together all of our sensory systems, but it's helpful that we all have the same information when we start a challenge together. So these 8 senses are continually telling our brains about how we are doing with our environment at any particular time. So 5 senses and 3 body senses, and let me just quickly talk you through them so you've got an understanding about kind of how your baby's doing at their age and stage. So our first puzzle piece there is vision, and vision is our baby's least developed sense at birth, has the least chance to practice, and when they're born they pretty much see in light and shade, which is why our babies are always really fascinated with lamps and windows and any kind of contrast of color they can be quite fascinated by. From they're born, they can pretty much see from the crook of your elbow to your nose in focus, so a really, really short visual field. And over the first 2 years of their life, they're able to kind of develop that vision, so that they're able to see kind of things coming towards them, things going away from them. They're able to track objects, they're able to judge distances, pick the same color off the same background, work on those discrimination skills, or we're able to work on recognition skills as well. Huge amounts of visual development we do, and their visual systems are fully developed at the age of 2. When our color scheme starts to come through, it starts with the beginning of that color spectrum. So we see colors like reds and yellows and oranges. And with our vision being our least developed sense at birth, we're going to do some visual development activities together. Tomorrow is all dedicated to our visual systems, and we're going to have a good chat about how we can support our baby's visual systems right the way up to the age of 2. Underneath that is our vestibular system, and that is our sense of balance. Our babies need to know which way is up. It's that indicator in our ears, that little fluid center in our ears that kind of give us an idea about our positioning. Really, really important that we have that sense of balance so that we're able to negotiate our environment, we're able to negotiate our motor skills, and we're able to do tasks while we are working on our static balance, which is when we're holding ourselves steady, and our dynamic balance as well, which is when we're doing kind of a lean and a reach at the same time. We're working on 2 balance systems at the same time. So we're going to talk a bit about our balance on Wednesday and how we know where our bodies are in space. And that brings me on to proprioception, which is our next one along. And in our bodies, we have kind of indicators in our muscles and our joints that tell our brain about where our body is positioned at any particular time. In our muscles, they're called spindles, and in our joints, they're called Golgi tendon organs. And they're giving those indicators kind of about where our toes are and where our fingers are, so that our brain knows without actually having to look for them where our body is positioned. Now, our babies have all these. They've got the spindles, they've got the tendon organs, they've got all that information about it, kind of coming through them about where their body's positioned, but they can't yet make sense of it. They don't yet have a body scheme. They don't yet understand that their knees are above their ankles, which are kind of connected to their feet and their toes. They haven't got an idea about where their fingers are in perspective to their shoulders. So giving them all that information through their body about where their body is in space is amazing for our development. It's amazing for our body scheme. It's great for our coordination as well. And we're going to be doing some activities tomorrow about our balance, on Wednesday about our balance system and our sense of knowing where our body is in space. Our next sense along is taste. And interestingly, it's kind of taste kind of receptors in our mouth that give our brain an indication about kind of how something's tasting, really kind of closely linked with smell. But up to 6 months of age, our babies are having either breast milk or bottle milk. And around 6 months of age, when we start weaning, our babies are starting to take in lots of tastes and lots of different textures as well. So really closely linked with touch, and we're going to come on with that as well. Giving our babies lots of opportunities to touch things is really important for our little ones' weaning journeys as well. Hearing is our next one along, and hearing is our most developed sense at birth. So whereas vision is our least developed, hearing is our most developed sense at birth. So can't make it better as such, but what we can do is help our babies understand different noises, understand where they're coming from, help them with directional noise, and also help expose them to different noises. So the noise of a forest compared to a park, compared to a beach, compared to the kitchen, giving them lots and lots of opportunities to listen to lots of noises and lots of different environments is really, really important for their hearing and also for their brain development as well. Interoception is our next one along, and interoception is our body's way of knowing how we are doing at any particular time. So are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you too hot? Do you need the toilet? All of that information is coming through that interoception system to talk to your brain about how your body is doing at any particular time. And our babies, super, super efficiently working system. Our babies are either absolutely fine or they're starving, and they tend to be next door neighbors. And your baby will be very, very quick to indicate if they're needing any kind of help. And that interoception system will keep firing until kind of the issue has been dealt with. So that's why you can never calm a starving baby. Once that indicator has started to go off, your baby will kind of treat it as an emergency until that kind of issue has been dealt with. In our tiny ones, kind of been okay, and that system firing off their next door neighbors, over time they start to fall apart a bit. So you can actually start to spot the signals about when your baby's about to start to become hungry, and you can kind of plan for that as well. Smell is our next one along, and smell is the only sense that we have that is processed by the emotional part of our brain before it's processed by the sensory part of our brain. So that's why we link smells and emotions so closely together. It smells like your favorite food, the favorite perfume, your partner, your baby will all bring kind of emotional responses to you. And it's exactly the same in your babies. They are indicating that, that they understand and they recognize people's smell from a really early age. So giving that opportunity to experience some different things, but to come back to you to be grounded, because you're that smell that is constant to them, before you kind of introduce other smells or other people to them, is really important. So never pass your baby from person to person, maybe one or two, and then come back to you to help to settle them back to, a way to go and investigate, and then back to you to settle. Really, really important for them as well. Would never do a sensory session that was all around smell. Super overpowering for our little ones, but little bits of giving them information about smell is really quite helpful for them too. And the last one there is our sense of touch. And we have touch receptors all over our bodies and not just in our hands. And it's really important that our brains start to process lots and lots of touch information so that we're just able to cope with all the textures that we kind of come around within our environment. Well, there's quite a lot of research that suggests that babies now are feeling a lot less textures than kind of they did a couple of generations ago, because our society is a little bit different now. We're not running up and down streets in the same sort of way, or climbing trees, or our kids are just experiencing a lot less textures in general. We've got more plastic toys, we're more technology based than we have ever been, and the impact that that's having on our brains is huge, because our brains are no longer able to cope with as many different textures. And you may find that some of these children who are having those difficulties will only wear particular clothes or will only eat particular foods because their brains aren't yet able to cope with lots of texture information. So if anybody has been on my sessions before, you'll know I'm a little bit texture crazy, and we're going to dedicate a whole day to texture so that we can give our little ones lots of opportunities to feel and touch lots of different things and compare lots of different things, because it really, really is food for our brains. Our brains take all of this information, make a snapshot decision about how we are doing at any particular time. That is called sensory integration. In our babies, they are getting all these bits of information separately, and that's why it's so easy to overstimulate a little one, because they're getting all these tiny little bits of information. So giving them a little bit of information and then giving them an opportunity to rest is amazing, and then giving them a little bit more of an opportunity to take in some information. Overloading our babies and carrying on with an activity isn't helpful for them. They're not getting that opportunity to process it. So play, rest, and play is your strategy, and never overloading them with too much information. No big kind of domes and flashing lights and lots more sensory and more sensory. Not helpful for our brain development. We're looking to give our little bits of information and let them process it so that they can start to develop their sensory systems. So that is our sensory kind of systems. That's our 8 senses that we have got going. We're going to talk loads about them this week. We're going to dedicate some of our days to 1 or 2 senses so that we can really understand them and we can understand how to integrate them in play. And my hope is by the end of the week that you're able to kind of pop together some of your own sensory sessions where we're taking little elements of different activities, putting them together to really help our baby's brain development. So yeah, so that's our 8 senses. We can all start off on the same page now. Now, my little challenge for you is I would love you to write down a little bit about how you currently play with your baby. Is there a time that works really well in your baby's routine? Is there a time that doesn't work so well in their routine? What are your baby's preferences? Do they really like holding and touching something, but maybe not so much the other thing? Do you play for long periods of times? Do you play for short periods of time? There's no judgment, there's no criticism from any of us, but it'd be really helpful to know what your baseline is and how you're currently playing, so that when we get to Friday and you've got a bit more information and you're maybe choosing about whether you are changing some of the techniques that you use when you're playing with your little one, you can kind of see how far you've come from kind of the information about what you're currently doing at the moment. So I would love you to comment down below about how you are currently playing with your baby. And if you need any advice about it at all, we're going to have Q&A kind of threads going up during the week. And I'm also going to do some live kind of coffee catch-ups. If anybody wants to join me for a cuppa and ask some questions about play, you are so welcome to it as well. So thank you very much for joining me for this video. I will look forward to catching up with you soon. And please do answer below. I would love to see how you are playing with your little one. Take care. Bye.